going on, everyone? So this video is going to be slightly different. Today I'm going to talk about how I find the best stocks to trade each day. I want to go through my routine and the resources that I use to find these stocks. These resources are free between Thinkorswim and my broker Lightspeed. So now let's just go through the routine a little bit. So I wake up at 5:30. I'm in Salt Lake City, so it's mountain time. So I'm getting up 2 hours before the market open. To be honest, I don't really need that much time to prepare, but the reason why I get up that early is because I am putting together my newsletter watch list essentially for the first hour of the day. So I get up at 5:30, I'm in front of the screens by 6, and then from 6 to 7 a.m., I'm putting together the newsletter watch list, and I'm also simultaneously watching Benzinga Pre-Market Prep. Benzinga Pre-Market Prep is a fantastic resource. The YouTube channel is Benzinga, and what they do is they get on and they talk about the market from 8 a.m. Eastern Standard to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. And what that does is it really just gets my mindset kind of ready for the day. You know, I'm clocked in, I'm ready to trade. I don't get any trade ideas from them. It really is just to get me mentally ready for the day ahead. Being that most people trade by themselves, this just allows me to really get focused and zone in. It gets my mind on the market, so I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. So that way, when the market opens, I'm ready to go. So that's what I'm doing from 6 to 7. And then when I'm done, I send that tweet out to everybody who's following me on my private Twitter, who signed up for the newsletter watch list. And then from 7 to 7:20, all I'm doing is just making sure that those levels don't change too much, because sometimes things really get moving prior to market open. And if they do, I just make those minor adjustments. And then from 7:20 to 7:30, I'm not doing anything. I just put on some relaxing music. I go to Chill Hop or Chilled Cow on YouTube, which is a really interesting name for the channel, but they have really relaxing music, almost kind of like elevator music. And I just listen to that for 10 minutes before the market open really low. And I just stay relaxed. I remind myself of my rules to really focus on 1 to 3 quality trades, the opening range break, the flag pattern, and focus on the first hour. So now let's go through exactly how I find stocks to trade. There are 6 ways in which I do that. The first one is going to be the main group of stocks that I'm looking at that I cycle through every single day. And that's going to be these to the left. All the biggest names of the market that I'm sure everybody else watches. Now, there are pros and cons to this. The pros are that I really understand the personality of these stocks, and when they set up, they can have really nice moves. But the cons are it's not every single day that they're going to be that exciting. There are days where I come into the market and I'm looking at all these names and I go, I really don't like much, just because it happens to be one of those days where nothing looks good. That happens. And I know I've mentioned before that as a scalper, it really takes only a handful of good days each month where things set up or individual names set up, they really catch momentum. And then I try to take advantage of that. And that can put together some nice P&L for the month. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the daily chart of each of these names and some of the things that I'm looking for. I want to see a very tight period of consolidation, and then it finally shows a direction, whether it be to the upside or the downside, and then I think it has a chance to catch momentum, or some sort of flag pattern where it had a really nice move, starting to get pretty tight, held that move, and then it ends up breaking to the upside or the downside and has continuation. And then also something else that I look for is second day continuation. So if a stock really catches momentum day 1 and then it trades slightly lower the next day, or vice versa, has a really big sell-off day and then it's gapping up just slightly, I'm looking for continuation in the direction of the prior day. So really those are the 3 main things that I'm looking for. Long periods of consolidation and then a break in one direction, some sort of flag pattern, or a really big move the prior day, and then looking for second day continuation. So that's the first way. And then the second way is the Thinkorswim gap scanner, and I'll show you how to access it. So right in the watch list, top right, I detach it. I go to the main, I drop down, and then I go to the lovers and losers, pre-market movers, and then I sort by volume. And this is before the market opens, obviously. And then I am searching through this to see if there's anything that's up or down, and does the daily chart look good? Now, I am not a gap and go style trader. And what I mean by gap and go is those excessive gaps, things that are up huge or things that are down a lot. I do not like to trade those names. I find them very difficult. I really am looking for things that if they gap, they're up, but not too much. And if they gap down, they're down, but not a huge gap down. And the third way that I find stocks to trade is Lightspeed risers and fallers. This is free. That just comes with the Lightspeed platform, and I'll show you how to access it. So on the very top, Lightspeed has a tab that says new. There's the drop down, and then I just click on the risers and fallers right there. And what this is this is similar to the Thinkorswim gap scanner, or just more or less the what's active pre-market. And then I am looking at obviously the stuff that's gapping up, the stuff that's gapping down, and then the highest volume traded. And once again, I do not like to focus on the stuff that's up a huge amount or down a lot. I do scroll through this, but I am looking for the stocks that have maybe a little bit of a gap. When they start to get excessive, I just avoid those names. And then I'm also looking at the stuff that's traded the most volume. A lot of this is penny stocks. I don't trade penny stocks. I really am focused on names that are at minimum 100 and higher. Sometimes I'll go a little lower if they have really high volume and they look good. But typically I'm focusing on the biggest stocks in the market. Okay, and the fourth way that I look for stocks to trade is the Nasdaq 100 watch list on Thinkorswim. And I'll show you how to access that now. So click on the top right of the watch list. I detach the gadget. I go to the main. I go to the drop down, this public I through R, and then I click on the Nasdaq 100, and then I sort by volume. And this is really for after the market. When the market has closed, I am just scrolling through because I want to see, do any of these have a really good looking daily chart? And remember, I'm looking for those patterns like I talked about before, making a new all-time high, long period of consolidation, finally choosing a direction, some sort of flag pattern, or a day one move to the upside or the downside, and then looking for more continuation in that direction. And the fifth way that I find stocks to trade is the S&P 500 on Thinkorswim, and I'll show you how to access that. So top right, I click detach gadget, I go down to main, I go to the R through the W, this public R through W, click on the S&P 500, and then I sort by volume, and I'm doing the same thing here as the Nasdaq 100. This is after the market has closed, and I'm just scrolling through these names. I want to make sure they're high volume. Typically, I like a daily average of more than 5 million shares. And then I'm looking for daily charts that look good. Is something close to all-time highs? Has there been a long period of consolidation that it finally broke out of? Is there some sort of flag pattern or a day one move to the upside or the downside, and then looking for more continuation in that direction? And this is why sometimes there'll be random names on my list outside of the main group. It's because I got them through the Nasdaq 100 or the S&P 500. So this is how I occasionally find a name that I don't normally trade, but the daily looks good because I found it through these lists. And then the sixth and final way that I find stocks to trade is Benzinga Charlie Squawk. And this is just during market hours in case there's some sort of breaking news on a company. It's very rare that I take trades just based off this squawk, but every now and then I do. That's where some of the videos you've seen of me doing my quick washout long trades where I can make a good amount of money pretty quick just because they have really picked up in volatility. A lot of volume hit the name, and Benzinga Charlie calls it out and I pull it up. And now I'll show you how to access it. So in the top right at Thinkorswim, there's a tab called Chat Rooms. I click on that. I end up getting this right here, and then click on Benzinga Squawk. And then on the bottom right, I make sure to have Listen on, and then that comes through the speakers. And there is a chat room where a lot of people are talking. I do not listen to what they're talking about. The only thing that I'm worried about is Benzinga Charlie when he speaks. And when you open up this chat room, the most important thing is to click on this listen, because if this is not clicked, you will not hear him. So when I have this up, I make sure to click on listen. I put it in the background. There are plenty of times where he is not speaking. Sometimes he can go almost the whole day without saying something. But when he does speak, I make sure to listen and see what it is. It's not common that I take trades from the stuff that he says, but I felt like this was worth it because there have been some times where he does make an announcement about a company. I'm able to pull it up and I've actually made money from it. So I think this is a great resource, and the best thing about it is that it's free. So that was my morning routine and how I go about finding the best stocks to trade each day. Hopefully you liked the video and found some value. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just wanted to highlight a couple cool things I have to offer. The first is going to be my newsletter watch list. This is going to be what I post on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open every day. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a very quick highlight of the SPY, the Qs, the bigger picture, the upside level that I'm looking at, the downside level that I'm looking at, the market news or the catalyst that day. And then I'm going to list 4 to 6 names that I'm watching, my favorites that day, and then the catalyst behind them if there's any news, the bigger picture idea, what's going on the daily chart, and then the levels to the upside and the downside. And then I add some mental notes at the bottom, kind of what I'm thinking that day, make sure to keep my expectations in check and follow my process. And the second thing is going to be a one-on-one call. So if you want something that's less of a commitment and you just want to talk to me about my process and how I approach the market, this is going to be great. It's a one-on-one live call for 1 hour. So if you're interested in any one of these 2 things, there will be links in the description below. Feel free to check them out.